Welcome to Old School RuneScape's newest league, Shattered Relics. Shattered Relics is a fast-moving journey where everyone plays as an Iron Man, embarking on their own unique journey through a new alternate version of Gielinor. When you first arrive, a powerful sage will guide you through the River of Souls in preparation for your new adventure. As you'll learn, this sage isn't a fan of the all-powerful relics you had fun with in previous leagues, and has shattered them into fragments. As such, relics are handled very differently in this league, with their fragments proving weaker in isolation. But on the flip side, they are interchangeable, and not the permanent choices they were before. You can collect fragments from various activities across Gielinor, including skilling, minigames, and drops from combat. As you progress, slots can be unlocked and filled with any of the fragments you've collected, activating their power. Players can move fragments between the slots as they wish, when at a bank or near the sage. As you complete tasks, you'll earn league points, unlocking more fragment slots and winning access to their associated passive effects. Unlike in previous leagues, this time you have access to all of Gielinor. But there's a twist. Nearly everything is locked off. In the tutorial, you'll unlock the defense, thieving, and fishing skills, along with one combat skill of your choice. Plus, you have a League 5x XP multiplier. Run energy does not drain. Clues you have not started are stackable as scroll boxes. Each of the main areas in Shattered Relics contains a waystone waiting to be unlocked, granting unlimited free teleports around the world. With every task you complete, you'll also earn Sage's Renown. These points can be used to unlock specific pieces of content, such as skills, bosses, and auto-completing quests. Fragments have a secondary bonus too. When enough unique fragments from the same set are active at once, they grant an additional effect. Those who thrive in Shattered Relics will be rewarded with prizes that will prove helpful both in future leagues and in the main game. So, as you can see, there's certainly plenty to play for.
Hello and welcome everyone to this week's very special live stream. If you haven't guessed already, and you really should have, this week's all about League 3 Shattered Relics. So apparently the script says I've got to say I'm your fragment-filled host, Mod Kieran, and I'll be joined by the wonderful Mod Oasis to talk about the Shattered Relics League with Mod Rock later. But before we get to that, we have two very special guests joining us, Tal Richards and Ciele, two of the amazing musicians behind the League's 3 song, BetweenTwoWorlds, which you can listen to now on most major streaming platforms. And so, welcome to both of you. How's it going? How's it been being involved with everything here?
It's been awesome. I've been playing RuneScape for, like, I was telling you guys, 18 years, something like that. So it's been amazing getting to really dive in on something with you guys.
I think it's phenomenal. It's been surreal from like our side, seeing the first time we heard it, first time we saw the video alongside it. It was like, oh my god, this is like a cut above anything we've sort of ever done. So I got my goosebumps going the first time I saw it. So
that's amazing. Thanks.
Hell yeah. So
thank you.
So how are you doing, Oasis? How are you doing, Rock, as well?
I'm doing great. The launch yesterday went really well. It's just jumping in and seeing everyone playing the league has been fantastic. And yesterday I didn't play too much because every time I jumped in, I was like just too nervous to enjoy it. But today I've really like soaked in and actually played the league, and it's been fantastic.
Oh yeah, what about you, Rock?
Yeah, I've been jumping into leagues and really enjoying it as well. I'm trying to do Priest in Peril now, slightly on the side. Can't have that XP waste, you see. Yeah, this week's launch was fantastic, with the exception of what happened. But yeah, that's all done, and the main thing was keeping people's leagues progress right there, and I'm absolutely loving it.
Awesome. Well, we've done a bit of introductions. Before we get into some more questions for our guests here, how about we actually dive in and show you the Two Worlds trailer video?
The wind swelling high, the water below. Time winds her hand like a river unknown. Paths can be seen in my mind as I roll. My eyes seem to blur these visions that flow. Shards of a crystal, they scatter and blow. Far in the eastlands, good fortunes bestow.
Wasn't that epic? I can't get enough of just watching it again and again. I don't remember like the whole old school team, because everyone in the whole company of Jagex saw it on like an internal showcase like sometime last week.
That's so cool.
But nobody could watch it, right? Because not everybody had the file, and so everyone was waiting for it to go out so everyone could watch it again. But yeah,
That's so cool.
It's been absolutely
That's amazing.
Unreal.
Thank you.
So, anyone might have questions live, then please do chuck your questions in the chat to @OldSchoolRS or @JagexLight, and we'll try and get a response to those questions later on. But first up, I want to sort of grill our new guests and talk all things between two worlds. So let's dive into that first. So, Tal, you first mentioned you've had like 18 years experience or something ridiculous with RuneScape. So tell us more about that.
It's like the first game I played. It's pretty much been the only game I've played. Everyone makes fun of me because I play like this. I played Diablo 2 for a little while, and then I basically came back to RuneScape, and that's just been it. I mean, I remember when RS2 came out. I remember when Runecrafting came out. I remember all the good old days stuff. So it's like I have 150 hours on the Iron, or 150 days, and then I think across the other accounts something like another 300 or something ridiculous. Yeah.
It's scary, isn't it? To think
It's scary, but
it's
also like whenever I'm writing like an album or songs, I just have it on the second monitor and I'm fishing around ones or like, doing something. So yeah, it's just always there. I don't know.
As Ciele, you said I think you're a little less experienced with the game and so on. So how did you come into sort of knowing this universe and getting involved?
Yeah, I wish I was a gamer. I'm not. I'm so sorry. But Tal really just like brought me into the fold. We've been friends for like 6 years, and I mean, I've known that you played RuneScape for quite a while, and he was talking about working on this song, and we've worked together before, and so he just asked if it was something that I might be interested in coming on for, and yeah, I was really down. It seemed like a really fun project, and it was, so yeah.
That's absolutely amazing. And so, I mean, the music itself, I mean, where did the inspiration come from for Between Two Worlds?
So on the melody side and everything, I knew right away that the main thing I wanted to do was something that felt like old school or like RuneScape in general, but also felt like distinctly different, because Leagues is a different game. I wanted to kind of mirror that with like have some stuff where like that first little bit on the strings where it goes up, that's kind of like an allusion to the main RuneScape theme, like bum 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 bum. But I wanted to kind of take that first little bit and then kind of transform it into a new thing, the same way that the League is kind of a transformation of the main game. So yeah.
Hell yeah. And so what does the creative process even look like? You know, at least us here, we're games developers. I don't know about all the people in the chat, but can you talk us a bit more through that process, sort of start to finish? How does that look?
Yeah, I think the first thing we did was I wrote some stuff on piano, like a couple different ideas. Then I sent it over to Ciele, and she wrote a bunch of ideas, and then we went back and forth. And it took a while for the whole like palette and atmosphere to come together, but mainly it was just on piano for a long time. And then we kind of filled in all the rest of the stuff and went from there. Yeah, and then lyrics, lyrics Ciele just ran with, and I just was like, that's cool, because I suck at lyrics, so she led the charge there.
How did you come up with the lyrics?
That's a good question. Tal gave me, because I'm not as familiar with the game, and from my understanding, there's not like a ton of lore related with RuneScape, and so there's a little less to go on in terms of like creating that sort of story world. And Tal gave me what's it called? The deck that was happening for Shattered Relics, like some of the early visuals and concepts and stuff, and then also just some like keywords that would maybe come up. And then as a songwriter, I just like really love writing from like a character story perspective, so I just kind of tried to like put myself in that zone once we had some sort of like sonic directions that we wanted to go, and then I just kind of took the lyrics in that direction, and as if I was in the world and was that person in the canoe. Or the boat, whatever. Yeah, and the verses came really quickly, I would say. We like mostly started with the verses, and then it was really like once we honed in on the chorus, and that was able to start fleshing out. Tal really brought in like the strings and started figuring out how to make it like bigger and really epic, which was really cool to also for me to just hear how it was like building and stuff as well. Yeah.
It's certainly awesome. I love particularly just how well the video goes well with it so well. It's that bit of the video where you have the sort of like smoke ring sort of puff out in sync with the music. I love that bit so much. I just love how cohesive as a creative project from both sides this has been. And so, what was the choice behind the Bizarre Star Strings to feature?
Yeah, so they my main music project that I work on is called Echoes, and so for our last album, I got introduced to them when we needed to track a bunch of strings, and so I just remembered them and loved working with them before, so found a new studio in Oregon, which was really cool, that I'd never been to. Bit like a big old room. I'll try and find some pictures at some point, but yeah, this big huge hall, and just got them in there and spent like a whole day recording strings, and it was awesome. Strings are like the best thing to be in the room with. It's like the most beautiful instrument to me, for sure. like set of instruments.
There's people shouting out Oregon there. We've talked about the lyrics already. The next question is: so, was the song ever in a state where it was completely different, or you didn't have like a clear vision of what it was going to be earlier on?
Honestly, like usually that's the case. I feel like it really wasn't this time. I feel like we went into it pretty much clear-headed. I mean, like the first few days, CL, maybe you remember better. I think we had a few ideas we were passing back and forth, but pretty much from the jump, I think we were on the same team. Like, yeah.
I think the verses came together really sort of seamlessly, like very easily. I think the lyrics for me came really, really quickly, and Tal is like a master at melodies, and so he already had that groundwork laid, and so the combination like that happened really fast. And then I think with the chorus, we did have a couple. We had a harder time coming up with the chorus, like not quite as quickly, and there were like a few versions, I think, melodically and even lyrically that were a little bit different,
Yeah.
and then we eventually got there. Yeah, it was an iterative process.
Yeah.
How long does it actually take? Like, I don't know if we've got a question about that at all, but like, when did you start working on this?
Oh man, I mean, we were initially pushing for that original release date, so there was a big gap there now that I can't exactly do all the math, but it was I mean, the main idea, which is usually what happens, came together in a few days, I would say. Like, usually it's like you have nothing, and then a big idea kind of comes 80% formed, and that takes like maybe a day or two to kind of get all of that, and then it takes like a month or 2 months to like really tune all the little details and stuff. Something like that. Probably around 2 months.
The majority of it at the project, I think, happened in like 2 weeks, though. From the time that you asked me to be part of it to writing it to me recording my like lead vocals, that was all in a 2-week process. Yeah. It
was honestly like a really smooth. Yeah, it was a really smooth and fun experience all the way through. It was great. I was so stressed coming into it just with how much history I have with the game, and just feeling like I did the thing for Trailblazers with Jimmy and Nine Rain, but that wasn't like, I was much more in the background on that, so that was not as stressful as this time around. Kind of, leading the charge on it was like, oh, it's a lot of pressure, but it was so smooth and easy all the way through.
That's really awesome to hear. And I know people loved the Trailblazer raps, the thing from the last league as well. So
very different, very different project.
They're like opposite ends of the spectrum of music you could possibly do.
Yeah,
but I love it, and I love that despite both being leagues, you can do something completely different and both deliver something awesome. So maybe some more general questions on like being musicians. Perhaps I'll come to you first, CL, and like, what do you enjoy most about being a musician?
I mean, I think the creative process, honestly, is my favorite part, especially collaborating with other people. I'm a solo artist, so I do enjoy doing my own thing, but I find, the writing process with other people and seeing just sort of like what comes from an idea. And I also just love singing. It's just fun. And collaborating with Tal, we've collaborated before, and it's always like, we work really well together. And so I always just really appreciate when you find people that you can work really well and easy with, and there's just like a flow and you don't have to overcomplicate anything. And it's, I think the writing process, though, is definitely my favorite part. And when you get to hear it like finished, because then you're like, wait, I made something and put that into the world, and it's exciting.
Is it scary as well? So seeing it go out, or
every time?
It's very
For
vulnerable.
me, every single time.
I think people like don't always think about how scary it is, because when people are like, oh, well, they're musicians, it's what they do, and you just sort of like take that for granted. But it's actually quite vulnerable, and the internet is scary. And so you just never really know how people are going to respond to something, and you might really love something and people might not be as receptive, or you might be like, I don't know how this is going to go, and then people really love it. So there's always kind of like either possibility. But I think as long as you're like grounded and happy with what you made, then it just is what it is. But it's definitely, yeah, it can be scary and exciting and fulfilling, you know.
What about you, Tal?
Yeah, pretty much the same. It's definitely very scary. I was very nervous about this one. I know I'd heard that you guys were all very happy with it, which was amazing. And then no one had heard it as far as the players. And I knew everyone liked the Trailblazers one, but this was just so different and more serious. So I was very like nervous that, kind of presenting it to a new audience. I've gotten pretty used to releasing stuff to our audience or like our fans and stuff, and I'm more comfortable with that because I know in general that they like our stuff. But coming into a pretty much brand new audience and fan base and player base was scary. But it seems like everyone really liked it, and I was, refreshing comments on the YouTube video and just checking like, okay, yeah, it worked out. Everyone liked it for the most part. Yeah.
Shout out to everyone who's been nice in the YouTube comments. That was great.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah, honestly, that's a good point. Like, nice YouTube comments mean a lot, and everyone always looks, so.
Yeah. We see them.
I think we have the same sort of thing, right? We put out new game updates. It's the same scary feeling. Like, is somebody gonna say mean things about us, or is somebody gonna love it? But so how do you first get into music? Was it something you both wanted to do since you were really young, or did it come about later?
Ciele, you want to go first?
Sure. I've been. Is it tacky to say that I've been making music since I was 8? I wanted to be a musician since I was like very small, and I've been songwriting since that time. They were no good. I just caveat, I was not good at 8, but I've been like wanted to be a musician since I was 8, and just sort of have like built on that over time. Play piano, guitar, sing, write songs, that kind of stuff. But I how do you get into it? I think also it takes an amount for going from being like a hobby musician to being a professional musician or someone who's, making some kind of go at it is also a bit of a switch to like believing in yourself, doing more of the vulnerable releasing of the music scary parts, and also sticking with it. That makes a difference too, because it's hard. It is actually a really hard industry. There's a lot of stuff. So, but Tal, how about you here? It's your journey.
Again, same kind of deal. I was in a bunch of bands growing up. I kind of was always the guy who was more intense and kind of off-putting because I was the one who was always asking people to practice more and like spend more time. And everyone's like, dude, we're like in 8th grade. This is just a fun band, relax kind of thing. Yeah. And then from there, it's just, I kind of didn't really think about doing it as a career. I was going to college and everything in a more traditional path, and then got into production somehow, and then that just kind of absorbed my life, and then ever since then,
No looking back now. This is the career.
Yeah.
And I guess having both sort of spoken through your history doing it, like, have you got any advice for somebody now, maybe some of our players who might want to get into making music?
It's hard knowing now. Everything's changed a lot, I think, since we started as well. It's a much faster industry now. I think really it's a lot of what Ciele already said, which is just you have to be okay being vulnerable and putting yourself out there and getting criticism. And, if it's good criticism, then, take it for what it is, but also don't let it kind of beat you down or anything, and just definitely sticking at it. I have so many friends who I've known for like 10 years now who are just now kind of really starting to make a career out of it, or within the last few years, and they've been going at it like full time for 7 years. So it just takes a long time, as with most things, I would say. If it's something you really like, just stick with it, and eventually it'll pan out, usually.
Yeah, and there's no there's really no such thing as like an overnight success. So like anybody that seems to like just have come out of nowhere, it's like, well, no, they've been grinding for probably a very long time. And so it's just, sticking with it if you love it enough. If you don't love it enough, that's okay. And it's also okay to like let something stay your hobby, because also finding like money making things, especially right now with like shows not being possible and all that kind of stuff, there's a lot of things to think about. But definitely, sticking with it. And then also like remembering that like your timeline doesn't have to be the same as someone else's timeline that you admire, or like have had success earlier in life, but it doesn't mean that also keep trying and maybe have success later. I don't know. Yeah.
Definitely agree.
It's the age-old practice makes perfect kind of thing, right? And you've got to stay committed to get to a point of success. And Tal, you mentioned you've worked with Nine Rain and Jimmy on the Trailblazer rap. Are there any other old school creators you'd love to work with?
I honestly think it would be really fun to do something with BugsAndIssues, just because he's such a iconic guy, and I think that would just be really fun. And he's got such a unique music taste that I think it would work. Other than that, I mean, honestly, anyone. I think pretty much anyone that I've watched has like a unique character thing that would make for a good song if we work together on it. I think Solo Mission, we could do something fun. Pretty much anyone, yeah.
I would be very interested to see what would result out of some of these. Be very interesting collabs. And I guess last question I sort of want to touch on is give you both a chance to sort of shout out about where they can find out more about you, where they can follow you, maybe see some more of what you're creating. So, Ciele, do you want to go first?
Sure, yeah. I think in my little display box it says @CL Music there, and that is my @anywhere for music stuff. I have been like a little bit slower on the music things the last like year or so, but I am still active, obviously. So yeah, you can find me on Facebook, Twitter. I'm not there very often, but sometimes Instagram. I do have a YouTube channel, but there's not much there. But Spotify, like any of the streaming stuff, my music is up there just under CL as one name. And yeah, and then I'm also an artist, a visual artist, and that's actually more my like predominant thing right now. So if anybody wants to check me out, what I do murals and paintings and all that kind of stuff. It's CLCIELE Beau, BEAU. So @CL Beau is my art stuff. So that's it.
Amazing. And what about you, Tal?
I think, in there is my Twitter, and that's pretty much the only thing I am active on, and even that's not that active. But my main project is Echoes, ECHOS. That's pretty much the majority of what there is to find for me. Yeah.
Amazing. Well, there are some links already going around chat as well. If you do !artists, you can find some links there ready to go. So make it very easy to go and follow it and see a bit more about what Tal and CL are up to. But honestly, I just want to sort of finish by just saying thank you so much for joining us, and thank you so much, obviously, for even working on the track to begin with as well, because it's one of the best things I think I've ever sort of seen old school produce on that side of things. It has been awesome. It's been a pleasure to have you on the stream as well.
Thank you.
But so yeah,
Thank
thanks so
you.
much. Anything you want to say before we go?
I mean, thanks for having us on it. It was genuinely a blast. I loved every second of it. So thank you, guys.
Awesome. And so we will be moving to... Yeah, sorry. Go on.
No, I just ditto the same thing. It was super fun to work on. I'm really grateful to have been brought into this community, and yeah, thanks for having us.
Amazing. All right, so we will be transitioning to an old school Q&A. And to do so, we will be playing the Between Two Worlds trailer again. Thank you so much, Talensia.
Bye. Thank you.
The wind swelling high, the water below. Time winds her hand like a river unknown. Paths can be seen in my mind as I roll. My eyes seem to blur these visions that flow. Shards of a crystal, they scatter and blow. Far in the eastlands, good fortunes bestow. Weary traveler, purpose rising as I roam. Can you hear them calling? Holy relics, guide me home.
Hello, and it's time for the sort of normal part of the Q&A. So I think we will start with the usual sort of announcements at this point. So, obviously, we're all here to talk about leagues, but if you somehow you don't know what leagues is and you want to learn a bit more about it, ! Leagues 3, because Shattered Relics is out now. It's the most open and versatile league yet, with more ways to experiment, compete, and play as you earn powerful fragments from different content. These are Shattered Relics that have been spread all the way across Gillinor by the Sage. So ! Leagues 3 for that. If you want to stay up to date with all the ongoing issues and fixes and find out what's been addressed, what we're working on, etc. ! BugsAndIssues. And I know we've played it twice already, but if you do want to find the video again, ! BetweenTwoWorlds, and that'll allow you to go and find a link, and you can go and check out that exquisite trailer once more and the beautiful music that goes along with it. And just to reiterate again, if you want to go and check out the fantastic artists behind the song, who we've just had on our stream, Tal Richards and Ciele, you can do ! Artists to go and find out some more info. So, I guess without further ado, let's talk more about yesterday. We'll come to you first, Oasis, but how are you feeling before the update? Obviously, it's been a long time working on it, and how do you feel?
Oh well, yeah. Before the update, in my head I was like, the fragment system, they're just not going to drop. I just had it in my head that fragments won't drop, and then we got into the game and it was all going smoothly. And then yeah, content-wise, it was great. I didn't, like I said before, I didn't get much chance to play. I was too scared and nervous. But in the evening, I managed to jump on and just like watching people interact. And there's like a magic feeling at the start of a league. It's like you're playing RuneScape on day one. Because there's just so many people around. You run past the Grand Exchange and it's just like empty because everyone's out actually doing the content. It's a really cool feeling, and it's great.
Awesome. I think we're all feeling pretty darn amazing about like the league itself and how well that's been received. But obviously, we did have an issue with yesterday's launch, and we had to do a rollback. don't want to dwell on it because I do want to get to questions, but I just really want to note just how much we appreciate how great and fantastic the community's been in handling of that. We've seen a lot of positive messages about us handling it the best way we could and getting it sorted. Your patience really is appreciated, and I hope now you can all dive into leagues and enjoy the content that we've put out there. So the other issue that we're still sort of looking at as a result of the rollback is the Group Iron Man storage issues. We have been investigating. We've started to get data through from our analytics team, and we'll be trying to solve those issues as soon as possible. We should certainly get more comms out in the near future on what's happening there. And there was obviously a little bug with fletching today as well, where you might have seen somebody sitting at 200 mil fletching XP. So we have released a hotfix to address that. Obviously, some accounts were able to exploit that bug and end up with excessive amounts of fletching XP, 200 mil indeed. So we have identified the accounts that have benefited from this considerably, and they will be getting the XP reset. I believe some of those have already been done. And with that said, let's dive straight into the question. So we got a question from Berserker. Any chance we could get some stats on interesting pets and unique drops? Can we see stats for the skills people have unlocked and the most unlocked quests so far, and so on? Any word on that, Oasis?
Conveniently, it's under the question. Yeah, we're getting the information in from our data teams. Of the stuff with the Group Iron Man storage takes precedence, but I imagine a couple more days we'll get some more information, and then they'll make the kind of infographics they did in Trailblazer, because I'm really interested to see like first skills, what people do first. It's going to be like super cool.
I certainly can't wait. I remember we had an amazing rundown of some stats for Trailblazer. I'm certainly looking forward to getting something similar this time.
Yeah.
Next question from Bonsai. Would it be possible to have Group Iron Man in the next league? I think people who sign up for it could just opt out of the high scores if they wanted to play for fun.
I think we could. Well, Group Iron Man came out like halfway through League's development. But as soon as it came out, we were already talking about could we do a Group Iron Man League. So, it's something I think we can talk about with the next one. Explore a bit more if it's going to work or not, and go from there.
Yeah, I think you have to be really careful with that. Sorry, yeah, you really have to be careful with that kind of thing, because obviously playing in a group isn't what everyone's cup of tea. And at the same time, if you'll get a group of people together that will be really excited beforehand, but as soon as they start, things will come up, or they might not be as involved as they thought they would be, and things will generally fall apart. So if we are going to look at something like bringing groups, we'd also have to have a solo thing that goes with it, just so everyone can feel like they can get everything they want from it too.
Next question is from Ulysses 1995. Can we please get the ability to play the normal version of an account at the same time as playing it in the league? I really want to play this league on my Group Iron Man. It's the only character I play, so I want the cosmetics on that account. But I don't really have time to. I don't really want to have to pause progress just to play the league.
Yeah, that's something we've had in like the previous leagues as well. It would be really good, but hopefully in the future. I know we've talked about it a fair bit just on the team, but I know it would take quite a fair bit of work to get in motion, right?
Yeah, there's a big tech hurdle there that would really need to explore, and I don't think it's a trivial one off the top of my head. We've explored the ideas about being able to sort of transfer rewards to another account somehow to try and solve that issue for Iron players. Obviously, not other accounts, you can just trade them, but it's something to probably discuss further and work out what we want to do on it. Next question is from LeBron Zezima. Whether it's any relation to the famous Zezima or not is another question. But can Group Iron Men trade the rewards amongst their group so that I could play on my group's alt and have, e.g., the whip recolor on my main Group Iron Man account?
Oh yeah, well, you just mentioned it, right? It's something we're talking about. I'm not sure since we can't do it with previous league rewards, we probably came to the conclusion of no. But I mean, there's no reason we can't reopen the topic and talk amongst us again.
I think with normal Iron Man, that's the thing, but with group Iron Man, as long as it's one of the group Iron Man accounts from the group who gets them, you should be able to trade them between anyone within that group.
Oh, sorry, yeah, I ignored the
I
group
think.
part of that whole thing. But yeah, it would make sense because they're tradables. So if they're in the group, you should be able to trade within the group.
Awesome. Next question is from Hunter Pot. Hi. Can the fragments menu filters be looked into? It's frustrating to have to filter to unlocked every time I log in.
Yeah,
If you know a bit about
it's
that.
one we could do. Like, the reason it's not is the leagues already is a tremendous amount of data. Like the amount of things we're tracking, like experience, fragments you've unlocked. We wanted to keep the amount of like variables and data we're adding onto a save as low as possible. But this wouldn't be too bad. So we might see what we can do for, if not next update, the one after. Ideally before the league's over, obviously.
Awesome. And the next question is from the Famuli. Can we expect bank chests to be made to work as banks, swapping out fragments?
Yeah, some of them are. Like the one in Wintertodd, which is just a chest, you can. I think like the one in Ferrex Enclave, you can't. So I think it'd just be like a little bit of a mapping job to update those bank chests to have like the tile to say they're a bank. Like I'm pretty sure the one in Camdazal is a bank, has like the mapping to say it's a bank. So we just have to update the ones that don't really, because it is pretty obvious here.
Is it not running off the bank area system that we have that exists with like safe areas in PvP as well?
Yeah,
Because
it
I'd
probably
say
would be.
if you're in a bank area, then that's probably a place you should be safe enough to be able to modify your fragments.
Yeah, it's just like the one-off chests in random locations that you can swap out, that they just need like one bit of mapping in front of them to make sure it works.
Awesome. We'll see what we can do there then. And Jewel Gang asks, can we get an updated list of items with boosted drop rates? Probably so they can complain about how dry they're getting.
Yeah, I don't see why not. I see if I can get something together to send over to the guys on the wiki to get it updated.
Awesome. That'd be great. The next question is from a Jam. Have any of you been watching streamers on Twitch trying out the new leagues? If so, which one have you been watching? Have they done anything interesting you didn't expect? We'll come to you first, Oasis. I'm sure you've both been watching different streamers and stuff.
It's going to be really bad when I turn around and say I haven't watched any. Yesterday I was like too focused on making sure the game doesn't blow up. And then once we finished the update call, I was knackered and I pretty much went straight to bed. And today, aside from fixing a couple of things every now and then, I've been just like playing the game and doing some other stuff. So not really had much time, to be honest.
Fair play. What about you, Rock?
Awkwardly, I'm kind of in the same position. When it comes to things like update days, I'm normally up and about and getting everything sorted for the upload a good couple of hours before even the devs are kind of getting sorted to get ready and deal with the launch itself. So yesterday was an incredibly long day and a little bit stressful after what happened. But yeah, I tried to relax in the evening, see if there was anyone I could watch. So it would be your casual, like, top of the system streamers and things like that. But I haven't really deep dived into it yet. I'm honestly more excited to play it myself and kind of experience it through what I'm doing rather than what other people are doing, because there's so many different ways to play it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to have a different experience. And it's awesome to see how many people are diving in on whether it's streamers, whether it's YouTube content being made. It's awesome to see like Giant Waffle streaming old school. It's awesome to see Sick Nerd streaming old school again, and it's been a lot of fun seeing that all going on. The next question is from Suspicious Links. Can you pull stackable clues in the main game?
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, but we did this in the past, I think, but it was a fair few years ago. And I think it was mentioned a couple times about potentially repolling it, but I mean, I might be wrong on that.
We've definitely had the discussions, but it's one of those things where I'm kind of like back into my old ways and be like, yeah, no, it's like if you make clues stackable, the rewards that are left there remaining and of at least high value, you're obviously going to make them a lot easier, because when you get a clue, the kind of choice is, do I bank it and save it for later, or do I do it right now in the hopes of getting another one when you do another piece of content? Well, admittedly, that content can just be buying implings, and someone has to go get that impling, so it's not the same. But yeah, it's kind of one of those things that it makes sense when you're in leagues because it's a shortened game mode and you're experiencing everything much quicker. But for me, I personally wouldn't like to see it in the main game at all, and it's kind of one of those things that I like to remain what essentially was old school. Stackable caskets isn't as bad because you've done the whole clue anyway, so you've gone through that effort of doing it, but I'm not a big fan of stackable scrolls.
Yeah, there's some comments in the chat about what if it had a cap? So, you could even say quite a low cap, like you could have 3 stacked clues or something like that. That might be a more reasonable way to do it. But I have a similar view to Rock, really. Like, I think the scrolls offer you a choice, right? You get that task. Let's say you're doing Slayer, you get one halfway through your task. You have a choice of, you could leave your task immediately, do it, and come back. You have the choice of finish your task, then do it, and then start your new task. I like that it gives you that ability to sort of break up your gameplay and say, I'm going to take a break from Slayer, I'm going to go do something else. Rather than just save up a stack of 100 of them, finish all the Slayer you're doing, then do a bunch. I don't think that's as fun or as interesting as a piece of gameplay. But also, this is maybe a more minor concern, but I think it's noteworthy. What if we do a clue update next year, right, at some point? It's not a promise, by the way. But at some point, we'll likely release new clue rewards. Now, currently, the stackable caskets thing we'd have to think about. Extending it back to clues, we'd have to think about it then as well. Like the idea that you could obviously have a huge stack and then go and open them all when the new stuff comes out. Something to think about. Although that might be something we need to think about already, so maybe not a new issue.
Yeah, to add to that a little bit, if we were to do a new clue update, I think the logical thing, like we've done in the past when we updated the seeds, etc., that came from nests from Giant Mole, we created a whole new item so that anyone that had the existing things would get the old drop home and get the new one. One of the things we're looking at towards Poll 76, and I know it's been discussed with other staff members on various social media, was about the elite clues and how the update we did in 2019 effectively made the third age items a lot rarer than they should be. Unfortunately, it is essentially a bug that's existed for a number of years now. However, when it comes to us doing something like that and fixing an issue that we really should have fixed a long time ago over this grand scale of things, when it comes to that specifically, we wouldn't be looking to create a new chest because it's something that's on us, on an onus that's us that hasn't changed when it should have. Whereas if we're implementing a new update, it's more onus for us to be able to give the first people who actually go out and complete the clues to get those items the reward for being the first person doing so, rather than being able to preload everything in.
Awesome. And we're well aware that there's a lot of stuff on the topic of clues, like especially elites, that there's other things we could do down the line as well and improve their value. So that'll be something we can maybe come to later. The next question from Licky Kitty. can you remove the 10-second stun when unlocking skills, quests, and bosses? This is coming back to leagues.
So by stun, they mean when the animation plays. No. It's not too long. You can run around and unlock fragments. When you unlock content, it's more of a choice. And that animation is the impact of your choice and seeing that play out. No, you got to sit through the animation, I'm afraid.
Respectfully, as much as I'm normally the stalwart for saying no, things must be harder, my personal feeling would be to disagree and try and see if we can put walk merge on them.
But the animation does.
Do them.
It does a lot of body movements, right? So it's going to look really like if we were to change it to do walk merge, it would look pretty janky at the current animation.
That would definitely be an acceptable reason for why not. It's I didn't see the animations coming through. I don't know if we tried to put walk merge on them. Walk merge is the system that allows us to basically make an anim playable while the player is moving. And if there's a lot of topology that's involved that would essentially make it completely like cause issues with the animation of the player themselves, then that's a fair enough reason. But the delay, you get that excitement of getting the fragment or whatever, or unlocking something. The first thing you want to do is go and do it, and then you've just got that very short. Admittedly, it's ridiculously short, and therefore could be considered nothing. But you've got that short delay before you're able to actually go out and do what it is you've unlocked.
All right, we'll agree to disagree, I suppose, on this one. But obviously, do give your feedback if this is an issue. Obviously, we can discuss it more with the team and see if there's something we want to do there. Next question is from Alan Mugatu. How do I convince my mom to buy me membership so I can play League's 3 Shattered Relics? Well, I guess I'll start and say when I was a kid, my parents used to top up my mobile phone £5 a month, and I paid by SMS to get membership by myself, and spent £3.20 worth of that £5 all in one go, and then had not much money left for text messages. That was my strat, but obviously that's not a thing anymore, so I'm not sure that's very helpful.
Real OGs remember the days where you could send money to the office. That's not a thing you can do now, so please don't. But yeah, you used to be able, in the really early days, you used to be able to mail coins and change and notes to the office and have membership applied to your account as long as you supplied all like the details of the username and stuff like that.
That's crazy.
But if you want to convince your mum, perhaps consider helping your mum out and doing some chores around the house. And then when you next go to do your chores for the next month's membership, you can do the chores while playing on mobile, so you've got no XP waste.
There you go. Sorted. Next question from Jerkowski. Whatever happened to us being able to save fragment sets to be able to swap between them quickly?
Yeah, I was talking to Mod Dylan about this today. The honest truth of it is we just didn't have enough time in the initial development to get it in. So we made changes to the design and adjustments where we thought that the whole set effect system or preset system we didn't need anymore. And I think looking now, not allowing players to change their fragments at any time they want between a bunch of presets is good. Because essentially that way you'd have access to every fragment in the game whenever you want, but now you have to actually make a tangible choice. And it's like, before I set out what am I going to do, what fragments do I need, and then you equip them. But with presets, you'd just be able to swap whenever you want. So in the end, I am glad that we stuck with it. Although, there was the delay, we had changed the design at that point. So it wasn't a question of, we've got more time now, we can do it. We actively chose that the game is better without the preset system.
And what about if it was just, you could only change the presets at the bank? the same way you can only change fragments now.
Yeah, that one would have been a nice quality of life, I think. Which is a shame that we didn't get around to being able to, or didn't get around to adding it in, just so you could quickly go between different content. But that's something for next league. From the looks of it, people are really happy with the fragment system, so I'd be keen to do fragments again next league. And this kind of quality of life is what we'd like to kind of bring forward.
Okay, awesome. Next question from X Edward. Why do relics delete when you get one whilst having a full inventory?
So they don't delete. If you have a full inventory, they go to the floor. But if there's too many items on the floor, something that's worth more, it has a higher player cost, as we call it, will go on the ground instead of the fragment. So that's what we're going to look to do next update, is because they're untradeable anyway, we're going to up the player costs so the fragments take priority over, like if there's loads of fish on the floor or something, they'll take priority. So yeah, look forward to that next update.
Awesome, that'll be a nice one to get sorted. And the next question is from Padisha. Could shop restocks be modified for the league servers? Pretty please. This is an issue that comes up in previous leagues too. But
we've done some shots, some of the ones that we thought would be hit pretty hard, like the ones in Catherby and stuff like that. But if there are any other shops that you think should restock faster, please let us know, and we can take a look in one of the next upcoming updates.
Yeah, one of the things I kind of want to push on that is that we do have lots of ways of being able to receive this feedback, like you can at people on Twitter and things like that. And one of the big things we've set up for this leagues that the CM have kind of worked on, allowed us to have, is that in the official Old School Discord, there's a dedicated Leagues 3 section where we've got general chit chat for people that just want to talk about leagues, where a place where people can report bugs and leave feedback, which the community team are actively reviewing and sending on to us. That allows us to go, okay, if a lot of people are sending this feedback, we can prioritize in what way we're going to do it, and whether we should do it or whether it's something we need to consider that this league is out now. So in order to make sure that people don't feel they've missed out because something has changed after they've say purchased an unlock, etc., is things that we can look at for the future. So I would recommend that people going and looking at these kind of areas and leaving feedback in those places as well. Even if you do get your question read out on stream, please go out and do it in those places as well, so we can definitely see it and collate them all together, because the ultimate idea is to try and make the best league we can, but then make the next one even better.
hell yeah. Let's get excited about Leagues 4 already, because ooh. Next question from Bud Lightning. Can you please fix the display fragments overlay for resizable mode? It currently only works on fixed mode. What do you think about that?
That's an interesting one. We'll have a look into this one. I'm not too sure what they mean. Perhaps they can go to the Discord and provide some more information. That'd be super helpful, so we can actually track down the bug and what to do about it. So yeah, jump on the Discord and do exactly what Modrock just said.
Apparently, there might be a setting where you can disable the buff bar, and that turns it off in your settings. So it might be worth having a look there.
Yeah, there is something that we recognise that in the actual the display fragments button on the League's menu, that is tied to the buff bar setting. So you need to double check your buff bar settings and make sure that's on and off depending on what you want for your fragments to display properly. That is something we're looking to address at some point, but obviously if there are other gameplay issues that we deem more important, they're kind of things we'll target first. But we are aware that that is kind of a thing to look at.
Awesome. Kiddy the One asks about the last recall set effect. Isn't last recall being a 5 set a bit much? It feels rough. Like, people are missing that last recall from the Trailblazer League and want the same sort of power.
Yeah. And then at the same time, people are calling last recall overpowered. We didn't want to add a cooldown because the league, should be fast. You should be able to move around and do things you want when you want. So we used the high amount of fragments required as a way to kind of nerf last recall. If you actually look through the fragments menu, it is on a fair amount of fragments. You just need to get to tier 5 to activate it. But yeah, putting it at tier 5 was our way of nerfing last recall to not be as powerful, because you have to sacrifice some fragments you might want to be able to use it. So yeah, it was a nerf to last recall because of how ridiculously overpowered it was in Trailblazer.
I think it's one of those things that we worked out that last recall was massively popular from the last league, so therefore we did want to include it in this one, but we kind of have to look at it in a way, how can we do it that's in fitting for the league and not just force everyone to kind of go, okay, that's the method I'm going to because I know how powerful it is. So it's something we will kind of adjust from league to league, and I think because of how popular last recall is, it's almost like it's one of those things like the unlimited run energy that we provide is almost always going to be a thing that we offer in these days. So for us, it's about, was in the last league, was it too powerful? Was it not powerful enough? So we'll make some slight tweaks to it that allows us to learn and try and basically put it into a better position moving forward. We have to essentially try these things to know exactly how it is we want to go in the future with them. So if this one isn't powerful enough and people didn't like it in its position, then we look at, okay, does that mean we need to give it to people earlier? Does that mean we need to deliver it in a slightly different way? And trying these different methods rather than giving the things that people already know and understand is what allows us to make the leagues feel fresh every time when they come to you.
I think it's really important every league has its own unique feeling. Obviously this league is very different to the last one anyway, but I think last recall was a huge identity thing of last league, right? Everyone associates it with Trailblazer League and how you played it. I like that each league will almost have a different play style, and not having it till later on does change the way you think about playing it. And again, maybe League 4 will be entirely different. Maybe we'll bring both last recall again and have it there. Maybe we won't, but we'll see when it comes to it. I'm glad it's in the league because I think it is it's a really cool feature, and obviously everybody does love it. I'm going to skip question 17, Druid, and we'll go on to question 18. UIM McKinnon. If I get the cannon ornament kit and then the cannon despawns, when I reclaim it, will it have the ornament kit on it?
Yep. It will.
That's something I specifically asked how it would work because the cannon ornament kit is the first thing that I'm going for my hardcore, and that's exactly how I want it to be. Like,
thinking ahead, I like it. We got a question from F. Jaked. What are the devs' thoughts on including music like the BetweenTwoWorlds trailer actually in the game for select areas like new quests or raids and bosses?
I think I may have just heard Ed calling in the distance going, oh my god, yes, please.
We'd have to get like a MIDI version of BetweenTwoWorlds for it to actually work. But we could get I know we missed out on launch, but the intro music for the cutscene that everyone loved and didn't want to skip. We could certainly add that to the music menu, I think. As long as it's obtainable like through future leagues and stuff like that.
Yeah, so the way that our music system it differs from RuneScape's is that we're still running on a system of MIDIs, essentially, as was the case back in 2007. And at some point, which I think was probably 2009, 2010, I don't know exactly, but RuneScape got the ability to have the way they completely overhauled their music system for it to allow it to actually take tracks and voices and sounds. Next was one of the first ones that got sounds, I think, or actual voices as well. So if we were wanting to do things like that, we would essentially have to ask that kind of restructure of the system in not only how our music works, but likely the work involved in allowing us to handle that music as well. But I know for things like Theatre of Blood, it would have done massive if we could have had the orchestral voices that cry out through Verzik's music and stuff like that. Would have just given it a whole new atmosphere. So it's definitely something that we would like to do as well, I think.
I think it's a really interesting topic, because like whether like sort of the MIDI sound is like authentically old school and that is how the game sounds, and whether is it too big a departure to almost put in like, I guess, real music, so to speak. It's a legit thing to think about, and I'm very curious sort of like how players would, react to that. Because obviously MIDIs are kind of like somebody says in the chat, it's like it's part of the vibe of the game. Not that we know, like, not a lot of people sit and play with music on, or at least not all the time. But when you come and play a raid for the first time, when you come and play a big quest for the first time, those are times where people would more often put music on. But if you go away from MIDI, is it not old school? I think there's a legit thing to that, and it's something you don't want to just almost ruin it needlessly. But yeah, stuff like what we did with Tob. It's still MIDI, but we pushed it a little bit more in terms of having the vocals in there. But we couldn't sort of have actual lyrics. That would be still beyond what we're capable of right now. The next question is from T. Sorry, go on, Rod.
Oh, I was just going to say, as some people kind of say in the chat, I think if we ever were going to try and look at enhancing our music style, we are old school RuneScape, so we kind of have to keep the old style too. So I don't think it's ever something we would necessarily remove in favor of doing a new system, but try and have kind of like have both styles run accordingly, like in what we see kind of where we push the boundaries with our art style a bit more now than we used to back in the older days.
Awesome. And so yeah, next question from TPZ. Any confirmation that Hot on the Trail is indeed supposed to give only hard clues? It doesn't specify on the fragment.
Hot on the Trail doesn't only give hard clues. Hot on the Trail gives clues based on the tier of log. So you might want to try cutting some different trees and burning those logs to see what you'll get. I won't say I won't map it out for you, but go see what different logs can give you.
Awesome, and I'll ask 2 more questions before we wrap up. Quick question from Cheeky Devil. There's a hard fire-making task in Leagues requiring 1,000 Wintertodt kill count, whilst burning 1 magic log is an elite task. 1,000 Wintertodt kill counts like 83 hours of straight Wintertodt. Could it be rebalanced?
This was one of the tasks that was kind of carried over from Twisted League. I think assumed to be, assumptions were made. But we talked about this earlier. I think we'd be okay with nerfing it a fair bit, because that is a bit ridiculous, to something a little bit more reasonable. Sooner rather than later, because as soon as someone tries to go for 1,000 Wintertodt kills and they get it, then I guess it's unfair to that person because they've actually just done that task. So yeah.
Yeah, it's not the only one. There's other kill count tasks that probably want to be looked at in the same way. Next question again, hopefully a quick one from Blow It Up. Why is it when you skip Monkey Madness 1, you get the Gree but not the Monkey Speak amulet?
Because getting the Gree is a much bigger pain than getting the Monkey Speak amulet. So yeah, that's why the Gree's one. And I think do you use the Monkey Speak amulet much after completing Monkey Madness? I'm not too sure.
You'll need it for Recipe for Disasters.
Okay.
You'll probably need it for Monkey Madness 2. You don't unlock the ability to speak to monkeys without it until the end of MM2. So.
Okay, but yeah, the list of things we give you for buying quests is like curated and chosen with a purpose. I can't, I don't know that purpose off the top of my head why the Monkey Speak was left out, but I trust in Mod Halo's decision as to why.
Awesome. Well, with that that is sort of the end of our questions for now. I'm sure, obviously, Leagues is running for 6 weeks. We can certainly talk more about Leagues next week, although I'm sure we'll talk about other things as well. But really, I just want to say thanks for you both joining. And is there anything else you would like to say before we sort of wrap up?
Thanks for jumping on the League. This is by far the biggest thing I've worked on to date. I got a little bit emotional jumping into RuneScape yesterday and seeing everyone playing it and seeing the Discords popping off. So it's fantastic, and thank you.
Anything from you, Rock?
Yeah, just a little thing from me is that I know some people have been asking about some of the remaining stuff that was on the PvP blog that we had last year. And I know there's a couple of final playtests coming up shortly to finalise some of the stuff like the Revenant boss and the Wilderness Slayer cave changes and things like that. So providing all those go okay, I expect them to come out soon.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for joining. I'll quickly touch on the announcements before we sign off. So we've been talking about League 3. Leagues 3 to find out more about that release. Bugs and Issues to keep up to date with the ongoing fixes and issues that we've had with Leagues. If you want to go and watch the amazing trailer and hear the Between Two Worlds music track again, !BetweenTwoWorlds. And we did have an amazing interview with Tal Richards and Ciele, who worked on the Between Two Worlds music track. And if you want to find out more about those, see what they're up to, !artists, and that'll take you right to that. But other than that, thank you all so much for tuning in, and we'll see you very soon again. Bye-bye.